ay namahagi ng inisyal na tulong na mahigit 2,700 family food packs sa Tuguegarao City, particular na sa mga apektadong residente sa Barangay Dibag Sur at Barangay Linao. Nagpamahagi rin ng Field Office 2 kahapon kasama si Pangulong Duterte ng 1,000 family food packs sa Iraga, Solana, Cagayan. Nitong mga nakarang araw, naabutan na rin ng inisyal na tulong ang munisipalidad ng Santa Teresita, Santa Praxedes, Solana at Tuguegarao City. Gayun din sa mga bayan ng Aglipay, Cabarauguis, Difun, Nagtipunan, Magdel, Saguday sa probinsya ng Quirino. Nagpadala rin ng karagdagang 5,000 family food packs ang National Resource Operations Center sa rehiyon. Sa NCR, nagpahatid din kahapon ng karagdagang 5,000 family food packs bilang resource augmentation sa Marikina City. Ngayong hapon ay magbibigay muli sila Secretary Bautista ng karagdagang pang tulong. Hindi pa natin nakakalimutan ng Marikina, nagpadala ng dagdag na 5,000 family food packs sa Marikina. Patuloy ang ginagawang rescue, relief, and retrieval operations ng Philippine Coast Guard. Sa kanilang latest report as of November 15, mahigit 500 or 596 na katao na ang kanilang nailigtas sa Cagayan. Ngayong araw naman ay sinisimulan na ng Coast Guard ang relief operations gamit ang kanilang mga air assets patungong Apari with estimated total cargo of 1,600 kilos kada flight mission. 3 flight per trip po bawat aircraft ang target nilang gawin. Ito ang ilan sa mga larawan ng mga relief assistance. Samantala, ang PNP ay nag-deploy ng 3,052 search and rescue personnel, kabilang ang 484 sa NCRPO at 747 naman po sa Region 2. Mayroon ding 904 RSSF personnel na dineploy po sa Region 2. Mahigit namang 3,000 or 3,323 ang ginawang rescue operations, kasama na rito ang 1,300 ng NCRPO at 1,174 ng PNP Region 2. Nasa 168,662 katao ang na-rescue ng ating kapulisan. Mahigit 48,000 dito or 48,779 ay nasa Region 2. Ito naman po ang update sa naunang bagyo na si Rolly. Mahigit 101 million assistance ang naibigay po ng DSWD, LGUs, NGOs at DOH sa mga apektadong pamilya sa Region 2, 3, Calabarzon, Mimaropa, 5, CAR at NCR dala ng pinsala ng bagyong Rolly. Ayon sa November 11, 8 a.m. report ng NDRRMC. Alam ba naman natin na ang dinaanan ng bagyong Rolly ay mga dinaanan din ng bagyong Ulysses. Kaya iyong tulong na ipinabot sa Rolly ay patuloy na ibinibigay sa mga naapektuhan ng bagyong Ulysses. Tungkol naman po sa bubuing task force sa rehabilitation ng mga komunidad na naapektuhan ng mga bagyo or yung Build Back Better Task Force, may dinadraft na pong executive order tungkol dito. Ito ang ilan sa mga mahalagang punto. No? Una, ang Pilipinas ay nasa tinatawag na Typhoon Belt of the Pacific. On average, meron po tayong 20 bagyo bawat taon na ang iba ay matuturing na pinakamalakas sa buong mundo. Tulad ng aking karanasan, ang epekto ng bagyo ay walang pinipiling political boundaries. Kailangan ng interventions that involve a whole-of-government approach as well as immediate solutions outside of the current bureaucratic framework. Ito po ang rasyonal ng pagbuo ng task force. Yung pagbuo po ng more permanent body that will focus and develop expertise on post-disaster rehabilitation and recovery of typhoon-hit areas is necessary even before the enactment of a law creating the Department of Disaster Resilience. This body will have a clear chain of command and a direct mandate to address and monitor the multifarious issues and concerns involved in the rehabilitation and recovery phase of typhoon-affected areas. Dahil dito, pinag-utos po ng Presidente ang pagbuo ng task force na pinamumunuan ni Executive Secretary na kung saan ang mga miyembro ay iba't ibang ehensya ng pamahalaan. Kasama po ang DA, ang DPWH, ang Department of Budget and Management, ang DSWD, ang NIA, ang National Electrification Administration, National Housing Authority, among others. Nagbigay din po ang direktiba ng ang Pangulo sa Philippine Air Force, Philippine Navy, and Philippine Coast Guard na magbigay ng assistance dito po sa nasabing task force. Nanawagan din po ang Presidente sa mga lokal na pamahalaan na tumulong po sa task force. Build Back Better ang magiging tema ng ating recovery and rehabilitation efforts na nakaangkla sa restoration and transformation of vulnerable areas to more resilient, integrated, and sustainable communities. Towards this objective, Immediate actions such as relief assistance shall be aligned with the medium and long-term action of rehabilitation of damaged infrastructure, development of communities, and construction of housing for affected families. Punta naman po tayo sa ating COVID-19 update. Sandali lang po dahil alam kong maraming tanong din ng ating mga kasama sa Malacanang Press Corps. Ayon po sa global update ng Johns Hopkins, mahigit 54 na milyon na po or 54,299,446 at tinamaan ng COVID sa buong mundo. Meron na rin pong 1,315,897 katao ang binubuhay ng buhay dahil sa coronavirus. Nangunguna pa rin po ang Estados Unidos. Pangalawa po ang India, Brazil, France, and Russia. Sa atin po, meron po tayong 25,677 active cases ang ayon po sa November 15 case bulletin ng DOH. Sa mga aktibong kasong ito, 82.5% ay mild, 8.4% ay asymptomatic, 5.6% ay critical, 3.2% ay severe, at 0.2% ay moderate. Mahigit 11,000 or 11,290 ang nai-report na gumaling kahapon. Sa ngayon ay mayroon na tayong nai-report na 374,329 na recovery. Samantalang nasa 7,832 naman ang binuwi ng buhay dahil sa coronavirus. Nakikiramay po kami. Tingnan naman po natin ang ating critical care capacity ng ating mga ospital. 56% available po ang ating mga ICU beds. Meron naman tayong 59% available sa mga isolation beds, samantalang 69% ang available sa ward beds at 79% ang available na ventilators. Pero mga kababayan, huwag tayong pabaya dahil ayaw naman natin mapuno ang ating mga ospital. Dinggin po natin ang sinasabi ng Presidente, kinakailangan mask, hugas, iwas. Dito po nagtatapos ang ating briefing, pero bago tayo pumunta sa ating open forum, kasama po natin ang ating ang ambassador sa Russia. Wala pong iba kung hindi si Ambassador King Sureta para pag-usapan natin ang development sa Russian vaccine. Ambassador King Sureta, thank you for joining us. Nung nagpaalam po yung outgoing Russian ambassador kay Presidente, nangako po siya na magkakaroon tayo ng sapat ng supply na Russian vaccine at meron lang daw siyang aayusin at magkakaroon pa tayo ng manufacturing facility ng Russian vaccine dito sa Pilipinas. Makikibalita lang po kami ano po ang latest doon sa development ng vaccine dyan sa Russia at ano po kaya ang posibilidad na sa lalong mabilis na panahon, hindi lang tayo makakakuha ng Russian vaccine at magkakaroon pa rin ng manufacturing facility ang mga Ruso dito po sa Pilipinas. Ambassador Sureta, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Secretary Harry. Magandang tanghali po sa inyong lahat at sa iyong mga sumasbaybay sa inyong briefing. Kami araw-araw, we rely on you for timely and very helpful information to help us in our diplomacy. We had a briefing last week with the Russians on this issue. At in terms of their development of the vaccine, it's quite advanced, and our DOST and DOH are in direct talks on the technical and scientific dimension of the vaccine. In terms naman po sa ating pagbili o paggawa ng vaccine sa atin, magmi-meet din po ako ngayon this week with the RFID para sila po ang in charge sa mga usapin na yan sa mga bansang gusto mag-cooperate. So that's I think I will have more after my meeting with them this week, hopefully.
Thank you very much, Ambassador King Sureta. Pero sa China po, meron silang emergency use nung ilang mga bakuna nila. Sa Russia po, meron din na pong na-authorize na emergency use para sa mga vaccine na na-develop dyan sa Russia?
They, sa batas nila, pinapayagan po yan ng limited use. They have had emergency use of the vaccine. Aside from having over 40,000 on third stage trials, yes, they have had. And from the emergency use, there has been no report. Wala pong report ng adverse effects, whether the first shot or the second shot.
Okay. Thank you, Ambassador Sureta. Please join us, Ambassador, for our open forum with the Malacanang Press Corps. Okay, ang unang tanong ay siyempre galing kay Yusek Roque. Yusek Roque.
Yes, a question from, I think, Rolf. Ang nag-forward po ng question ay si Joe Montemayor ng Malaya. Pahingi daw po ng reaction about mass student strike call of Ateneo students.
Well, nasagot ko na po yan kahapon sa Cagayan. Ulitin ko lang po, no, bilang dating aktivista rin, yung gawain po namin mga aktivista ay talagang pinararating namin ang aming saloobin sa gobyerno, no, sa pamamagitan ng mga protesta, mga marcha, pati yung mga iba't iba pang paraan. Pero yung nakita ko pong pinopropose nila na academic strike, hindi po pagsumite ng mga requirements ng eskwelahan, hindi po namin nagawa yan, no? Dahil sinisiguro namin na bagay po, no? Sa UP po kami nag-aral, sinubukan po namin bilang mga aktivista na wag naman sayangin yung pera ng taong bayan at sinisiguro pa rin namin na pumasa kami at nag-comply kami sa aming mga requirements. Hindi ko lang po alam kung talagang ibang-iba ang patakaran sa mga pribadong mga eskwelahan dahil sila naman ay nagbabayad ng sarili nilang tuition. Pero papaalalahanan ko lang po, no, dahil ako naman po ay nagturo ng constitutional law rin ng almost 20 years sa UP, kabahagi po ng academic freedom yung pagsasapubliko ng nasa loob ng saloobin ng mga estudyante. Pero kabahagi din po ng academic freedom ng mga eskwelahan na mag-impose ng academic requirements para matapos po ang kurso ng mga estudyante. At kapag hindi po nag-comply sa mga academic requirements na yan, meron silang karapatan na ipagkait ang kahit anong degree sa mga estudyante na hindi po nagsumite o tumapos ng mga academic requirements. So yung plano po nila na wag magsumite ng mga academic requirements, baka ang resulta po dyan, hindi kayo matapos na inyong pag-aaral. Yan naman po ay warning lamang.
Question from Tina Mendez of Philippine Star. Yung daw pong schedule sa APEC ni President Duterte this week, kung meron na po?
Opo, meron po. No? This is on November 20 at magsisimula po ito sa gabi. Magkakaroon po sila ng leaders sa family photo ng gabi. Pagkatapos po magkakaroon sila ng dalawang session, no? Na kung hindi ako nagkakamali, maikli lang naman po yung mga session, no? Yung session 1, session 2, tapos magkakaroon sila ng break, tapos final session, no? So, ang schedule po mga alas 7 o almost alas 8 na sila magsisimula, magtatapos po sila ng alas 10, at syempre po, this is online.
Thank you, Secretary.
Yes, punta tayo kay Mela Lesmoras, please, PTV4.
Hi, good afternoon po, Secretary Roque. My question is about mga kalimadad pa rin po. Kasi we're always talking about funds, but when it comes to manpower, do we still have enough teams for rescue and recovery efforts? And paano po kaya na natin i-maximize or yung mga ating mga people on ground?
Well, sapat naman po ang ating personnel, no? Nandyan po hindi lang ang Coast Guard, nandyan po ang PNP, nandyan din ang AFP, at nandyan din po ang mga lokal na pamahalaan. Meron din po tayong mga assets, mga rubber boat, at meron din po tayong mga air assets consisting of helicopters and even airplanes, no, na patuloy po lumilipad para magdala po ng mga relief goods sa iba't ibang lugar na nasa lanta ng pagbabaha at ng bagyo.
Opo. Sir, follow-up lang po kasi may mga government workers na rin po tayo nagbubuwis ng buhay para sa mga recovery efforts. Magkakaroon po ba ng pagkilala si Pangulong Duterte sa ating mga tauhang ito, at magkakaroon po kaya ng additional benefits para sa ating mga rescue teams na todo effort ngayong sunod-sunod ngayong kalamidad?
Well, kinikilala po talaga natin ang lahat ng ating rescue and search frontliners, no? Nagpapasalamat po ang Pangulo at ang buong sambayanan sa kanilang kagitingan at sa kanilang katapatan, no, na sa kabila ng pagsubok nandun po sila, no, binubuwis ang kanilang mga buhay. Sa batas naman po, meron po tayong tinatawag na espesyal na bayad kapag sila po ay gumagawa ng mga delikadong mga gawain, no, at I'm sure they will be given this amount po. Pero siyempre po, it's not the amount of money, it's the gratitude of a very thankful nation. Maraming salamat po, mga bayani po kayo, yung mga nagbibigay ng tulong at mga patuloy na naghahanap po ng mga nawawalang ating mga kababayan. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
Opo. Sir, dahil sa mga sunod-sunod na kalamidad, magkakaroon po kaya ng pagbabago sa government priorities na nalalabing 2 years ng termino ni Pangulong Duterte?
Well, kaya nga po sinusulong yung pagbuo ng Disaster Resilience Department, no? Inaasahan po natin na dahil nga po dito sa sunod-sunod na mga bagyo, siguro naman po lahat yung tututol sa Kongreso ay makikita kung bakit dapat talaga tayo magkaroon ng ganitong bagong ahensya. Habang wala pa po yan at habang wala pang batas na binubuo ang Kongreso tungkol dito, bumuo nga po ng task force ng ating Presidente. Ito po ay pamumunuan ng Executive Secretary mismo para para malaman po ng lahat na no less than the closest alter ego of the President, the Executive Secretary, will be in charge. So in the mind of the President, talagang ang magiging in charge po dyan si ES at inaasahan na lahat po ng mga ahensya ay magbibigay ng kanilang kooperasyon at tulong para po mas mabilis yung pagbigay ng assistance sa ating mga kababayan na mga ngailangan ng tulong.
Opo. Panghuli na lang, Secretary Roque, kailan po kaya ang susunod na public address at kailan po ang IATF meeting with the President?
Bukas po. Bukas po ng gabi as usual.
Okay. Thank you so much po.
Thank you, Mela. Back to you, Sec. Roque.
Yes, Secretary, question from Jam Punsala ng ABS at CBN Digital. May we get a statement on why President Duterte made jokes during his Camarines Sur typhoon briefing yesterday?
Alam mo, talagang ugali na ng Pilipino na bagamat marami tayong pagsubok, no, sinusubukan pa rin natin na i-lighten yung ating mga problema. So, hindi lang naman po yan gawain ng ating Presidente, bagamat matagal na po yan nangyayari na talagang hindi nyo pagkakait sa kanya na dahil sunod-sunod ang nakikita niyang trahedya, kahit papano humanap ng dahilan, no, para magkaroon ng konting break from yung mga kalamidad na binibisita niya. So sa akin, ganun lang po yun. Let's not read anything beyond the fact na the President wants to more or less lighten the mood, no, dahil buong araw wala siyang nakita kung hindi disaster, no, doon po sa Cagayan at doon po sa Naga, no. So hayaan na po natin, bigyan naman natin ng pagkakataon na magkaroon ng light moment yung ating Presidente.
From Argil Jeducos of Manila Bulletin, reaction daw po ng Palace on the resignation of Congressman Pantaleon Alvarez from PDP Laban.
Nako, wala po kaming reaksyon. Personal na decision niya ni Congressman Alvarez. At ang naintindihan ko naman na tumawag siya sa akin kahapon, ang dahilan daw ay dahil mag-i-engage siya sa voters education, no, na baka hindi niya magagawa kung siya po ay kasapi ng administration party. So, yun lang po ang sinabi niya sa akin at sa panig naman ng Malacanang, we wish him well.
Thank you, Secretary.
Okay, punta tayo kay Trish Tirada, please.
Hi, good afternoon, Secretary. Sir, before I go to my calamity-related questions, ito lang po muna. Si Senator Richard Gordon is saying that he's beginning to doubt the sincerity of the government to fight corruption. He's actually pointing out yung dilly-dallying on prosecuting people tagged in several Senate investigations. He said that he's left doubting whenever the president speaks out against corruption. I'll quote part of his statement. I wonder if this is just a slogan or is it a reward or is it real, unquote. He also talks about yung governance in action doon po sa Senate recommendations to prosecute itong mga officials na implicated, particularly doon po sa PhilHealth. Your reaction?
Well, unang-una po, personal na opinion niya ni Senator Gordon. No? He's entitled to have that opinion. Pero tingin ko po ang track record ni Presidente malinaw po. No? Sa simula't-simula pa, yung pinakamalapit niyang mga supporters nung kampanya, isang department secretary, isang administrator, sila pa yung unang nasibak ni Presidente. No? At ngayon po, sa kanyang Talk to the People, regular feature na po yung pagbabasa ng mga pangalan na nasususpinde o di naman kaya tuluyan ng nasisisante ng ombudsman. No? At kasama na rin yung mga listahan ng mga nakakasuhan ng kaso. Pagdating po sa PhilHealth, talaga naman pong nakasuhan yung mga tinatawag na miyembro ng mafia. Siguro hindi ito yung mga individual na sinabi ni Senator Gordon na dapat kasuhan, pero sinunod naman po ng ombudsman yung naging rekomendasyon ng Senate as a committee as a whole, no, kung sino talaga yung mga mafia at ito po yung mga nasuspinde. Iba lang siguro yung gusto masuspinde ni Senator Gordon na hindi naman sinang-ayunan ng ombudsman at ng mga kasama niya sa Senado.
Secretary, ito pong recent calamity is attributed to so many things. Among the major contributors na pinopoint out po is yung nature, yung climate change. But looking at what really happened Kung sinasabi po ng pamahalaan that there wasn't a lapse in terms of responding, of rescue sa part ng NDRRMC and awareness campaign, there could be a lapse somewhere and that could be pointed out to the ENR kung ano po yung mga nagawa nila. Is it high time, sir, to review yung performance ng agency and maybe projects? Kasi ito pong mga nababanggit ngayon na, katulad po yung nabanggit na reforestation that's coming up, hindi po ba masyadong late na ito and isn't it just too reactive na mas maganda sana kung nauna po itong ginawa? And do you think na yung priorities medyo mali po na inuna yung mga beautification projects over measures or policies to stop illegal activities na nagko-contribute sa pananakit sa kalikasan? Na ito nga po yung tinuturo ngayon, even the President pointed it out na there's illegal logging, there's mining, there's quarrying na pwedeng dahilan nitong mga tragedies and walang nagawa about it. Former Secretary Gina Lopez also flagged these events before, pero it looks like ano pong nangyari dito? Ano pong nagawa dito?
Alam mo, talagang problema itong climate change. Kaya nga paulit-ulit si Presidente sa mga international forums, no, na talagang humingi ng tulong sa iba't ibang bansa ng daigdig, lalong-lalo na yung mga developed industrial countries na siyang sanhi ng climate change na gumalaw, no, at sundin yung kanilang mga obligasyon sang-ayon po sa tratado para babaan yung kanilang mga carbon emissions. Ang Pilipinas po, top 5 in the world as most susceptible to climate change, and that's a fact. So kung hindi po gagalaw ang buong daigdigan, kaya po tayo specially affected ng climate change, posible pong mawala ang ating mga land territories, maging permanently underwater kung hindi po natin marireverse ang climate change. Kaya nga po, ang unang kasagutan ko sa Trish, kahit ganong kagaling ang DNR, kahit ganong kagaling ang NDRRMC, habang hindi natin nasusolusyonan itong climate change, baka mabura pa ang ating teritoryo. And we are in the top 5 of the most susceptible countries to climate change. Ibig sabihin po yun, mawawala ang ating land territory, mapapasailalim tayo ng tubig as a result of climate change. So yan po unang nating kasagutan. Ang solusyon dito, it has to be a worldwide effort para ipababa ang carbon emissions dahil that is the only proven scientific manner, no, by which we can reverse climate change. Of course, we always strive to have better response performance, lalong-lalo na pagdating sa kalamidad. Pero ang sinasabi po natin dito sa nangyari sa Cagayan, talagang we prepared for it, pero we did not expect the gravity, no, of the amount of water that descended on the lowlands. Ito naman po hindi lang dahil sa isang bagay. Meron na pong scientist, Dr. Seringa ng UP, no, na nagkaroon na ng pag-aaral dyan. Ang sabi niya, maraming factors po dyan. Kasama na dyan ang climate change, kasama na dyan ang deforestation, kasama na dyan yung illegal mining, pero kasama na rin po dyan yung anyo mismo ng Cagayan River na meron nagkakaroon ng choke point, no? At ito po yung dahilan kung bakit ang municipality ng Alcala isa sa hardest hit, no, dahil doon nag-overflow yung choke point na yan. At meron na pong JICA study na nagsasabi nga na dapat lakihan yung mouth ng river na yan. So marami pong factors dyan we anticipated, but as the governor himself said, no, they did not actually expect this much water discharge into Cagayan Valley, no. So, we will strive to do better, pero sa tingin ko po, wala naman po ang pagkukulang. But we will always strive to be better.
Secretary, does Malacanang regret yung pag-slash off of a big chunk of the budget previously allocated to disaster risk management funds and dissolving Project NOAA?
Hindi naman po, dahil nandiyan pa rin po ang pondo ng NDRRMC under the Department of National Defense. So, wala po tayong in-slash po dyan, no? Bukod po dun sa mga quick reaction fund at bukod dun sa mga regular programs ng iba't ibang ahensya, meron po talaga tayong halaga na nakalaan for disaster response na being administered by the NDRRMC.
Sir, last question. Si Senator Binay noted yung hirap ng ating mga rescuers and responders and the lack of equipment and manpower during the rescue operations. She says, sana gumawa raw ng paraan yung palasyo at DFA para humingi ng tulong sa UN, especially that we're experiencing back-to-back tragedies. Are we moving towards that direction of asking help from our friends from the international community?
Hindi na po kinakailangan dahil ang UN mismo nangako na natutulungan tayo. Siguro explain ko lang kay Senator Binay and I fully understand where she's coming from dahil talagang taal ng taga-Cagayan po ang mga Binay, no. Talagang nung lumabas po yung tubig sa Cagayan River, kahit anong teknolohiya hindi po pwedeng sumabak doon sa lakas ng tubig na nagragasa doon sa Cagayan River, no. So may punto rin po na even if you have the most advanced equipment, hindi ka pa rin po pwedeng sumabak doon sa pagragasa ng ilog na yon dahil napakalakas at kinakailangan antayin pa rin yung paghupa, no? Pero isa pa sa solusyon, yung sinuggest nga po ni Secretary Anyo na dapat siguro NDRRMC na ang magdedesisyon din kung kailan na magbubukas ang mga dams kasi bukod pa nga doon sa iba't ibang mga dahilan kung bakit umapaw kumbaga itong basin ng Cagayan Valley ay yung paglabas din ng tubig ng dam. Although, hindi lang man po yan ang dahilan.
Thank you, Secretary. Salamat po.
Maraming salamat po. Yusek Roque, please.
Yes, Secretary, from Joyce Balancio ng DZMM, kuha daw po siya ng summary ng participation ni President Duterte sa ASEAN. Hanggang saan lang po siya nakasama kasi this weekend wala na siya sa closing ng event. And also details on important documents signed.
Nawala lang po si Presidente doon sa last day. Totoo po yan kasi lumipad na siya papuntang Tugigaraw at saka ng Naga. Pero nagpaalam naman po ang Presidente at naintindihan naman po ng kanyang mga kasamang mga pinuno ng iba't ibang bansa na siyempre, no, super typhoon. Habang the summit was being held, merong super typhoon at merong pang mega flooding na nangyari sa Cagayan. So they understood. Even po on the first day, nawala lang po ang Presidente sa isang session dahil nga po tumama nga yung Super Typhoon Rolly, no. Ito po yung session ng ASEAN-US na binasa naman po ng ating kalihim ng Foreign Affairs yung kanyang talumpati. Pero bumalik po siya, no, dahil yung pagpupulong po ng yung East Asian Forum, siya na po ang gumawa ng tinatawag na intervention o siya na po yung nagsalita mismo, no. So, ang na-miss lang po niya talaga yung last day. Pero he was on the first day sa plenary at saka dahil siya po yung chairperson ng or country coordinator for China, siya rin po ang nagtalumpati tungkol dun sa ASEAN-China Summit. Nawala lang po siya doon sa ASEAN-US Summit pero bumalik po siya matapos po siya mag-aerial inspection ng mga apektadong lugar dito po sa Metro Manila at karating na lugar. Na ano po yung mga importante mga dokumento? Well, nagkaroon po ng pag-agnusyo ng pagbuo ng ASEAN Regional Center on Public Health, Emergencies and Emerging Diseases. Nagkaroon po ng midterm review ng ASEAN Community Vision 2025 Blueprint, official release of the ASEAN Comprehensive Recovery Framework, and the launching of the ASEAN Regional Reserve of Medical Supplies, no? Now, bukod po dito, sa pangalawang araw ng Sabado, ang Presidente po ang nagtalumpati doon sa East Asia, sa ASEAN, Australia Biennial Summit at saka doon po sa East Asia Summit, no? So, siya na po ang personal na nag-attend dyan, no? Tapos nagkaroon po tayo ng launching ng ASEAN Smart Logistics Network with the first project of VinFook ICD Logistics Center, isang superport. So nung huling araw naman po, ang importante po doon ay yung Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership na dinaluhan naman po ni DTI Secretary Mon Lopez at ni SFA Secretary of Foreign Affairs. So yun po ang major highlights na nangyari ng ASEAN Summits.
Ang second question po niya, how important is the RCEP agreement signed 8 years in the making daw po ito, and what does it mean for the Philippine economy?
Ito po ay nagpo-promote ng freer trade, no, o free trade sa parte po ng 15 mga bansa, no, kasama po ang China. So ibig sabihin po to, mas malaki ng merkado para sa ating mga goods and service, mga goods na ginagawa sa Pilipinas. Ibig sabihin po niyan, kapag mas marami tayong nai-export, mas marami pong hanap buhay para sa ating mga ordinaryong mamamayan. Ibig sabihin po niyan, mas maraming pagkain sa pagkainan ng mga Pilipinong pamilya.
Opo. Ang third question niya on task force created, ano daw po ang magiging difference ng function ni Executive Secretary Medaldea sa NDRRMC? Hindi ba doble ang functions?
Hindi po. Unang-una, headed by the Executive Secretary. Siya po yung, kumbaga, primus inter pares ng lahat ng mga miyembro ng kabinete. We look up to the Executive Secretary as the primus inter pares, no? In English, that means the first amongst equals, no? So, kapag nag-utos po ang presidente sa kahit anong ahensya, kinakailangan mabilisan po ang pagsunod sa kanyang pag-uutos, no? At ang gusto nga ng presidente, bagamat makipagtulungan ng iba't ibang ahensya, merong in charge, no? And that is the executive secretary. Nandyan din po ang NDRRMC, which is an attached agency to the Department of National Defense. At syempre po, sila yung gagawa ng staff work at saka yung mga sila yung magko-coordinate pa rin ng yung rescue and relief operations po, kasama na yung pagbibigay ng mga warnings, no? Dahil meron naman po tayong batas na gagawan, na ino-obligate po ang NDRMMC to provide this early warning sa ating mga mamamayan. So wala naman pong superfluity. It will facilitate the easier and the faster provision of relief and assistance pag meron pong kalamidad.
Thank you, Secretary.
Melo Acuña, please.
Good afternoon, Secretary. Kausap ko po kanina si Rene Pasyente, yung senior weather forecaster ng Pag-asa. Nabanggit niya na meron naman silang sapat na facilities. Ang pinaka-problema ay kulang sila ng manpower. They need at least 12 more weather forecasters who will undergo training. The question is, how do we attract people to work with the government at nang mapalakas yung ating pag-asa? Would there be any strategy for that?
Alam niyo po, palaging problema yan na yung ating mga weather forecasters pinapirate ng iba't ibang bansa. Ang solusyon naman po natin dyan ay yung pagtaas ng government standardization law, and we have just implemented another round of salary increase, no? At magpapatuloy naman po yan. So hindi lang po sweldo yan, siguro kasama na rin sa incentive yung utang na loob ng buong sambayan ng Pilipino dun sa mga forecasters natin, dahil ang kanilang ginagampanang papel ay literally, no, can save lives and property, no? Dahil nga po ang emphasis natin as a calamity prone country, we need to prepare and always be ready for disasters. So yun po, I think the gratitude of the Filipino nation, as well as better pay provided by the salary standardization, will be incentives for more people to work at the Pag-asa.
Yeah. Secretary, maidagdag ko na rin po, magkakaroon kaya ng inventaryo ang pamahalaan sa bilang ng mga empleyado on job orders? Because I've heard there are offices with workers working for at least 18 to 20 years who are job orders ang status. Paano po kaya ito?
I think that's also a priority of Congress, no? Kasi magkakaroon sila ng government rationalization, no? Yun nga po yung hiling lang ng ilang mga senador na bago bumuo ng bagong mga departamento, implement muna natin itong rationalization, na alam natin kung sino talaga yung mas kinakailangan ng additional plantilla post at alin yung po pwedeng mabawasan, no? Having said that, no, siguro again we can appeal to the lawmakers na itong successive series of typhoons in a matter of 2 months, no, is really a reason why we should establish the Department of Disaster Resilience.
Yeah. Secretary, tungkol sa bakuna, meron na po bang mga kumpanya at mga bansa na nag-aalok ng kanilang bakuna? Nabanggit na kasi yung Pfizer, meron ding Russian vaccine. Ano po kaya ang status ng mga ito at gaano kabilis makatutugon ang FDA ng Pilipinas para matiyak ang kaligtasan ng mga ito? Thank you, Secretary.
Well, Melo, kung napapansin naman ninyo, no, talagang binibigyan natin ng prioridad yung usaping bakuna dito sa ating press briefing. Nakausap na natin lahat ng ambahador natin sa mga bansa na nag-manufacture po at nag-attempt na mag-market ng mga COVID vaccine. Ang balita po kay Ambassador Santa Romana, anytime merong approval ng Chinese FDA, and the Chinese government has pledged na magkakaroon tayo ng substantial volume, no? Nakausap na rin po natin si Ambassador Lagdameo, no? At ang AstraZeneca naman po sa Inglaterra ay nagsabi na rin na susunod sila sa COVAX at sisiguraduhin nila na hindi lang yung mga bansang mayayaman ang magkakaroon ng vaccine. At siguro po tanungin natin si Ambassador Sureta. Ambassador Sureta, can you answer Melo's question as far as the Russians are concerned?
Yes, maraming salamat, Secretary Harry. Magandang umaga, Sir Melo. Yes, in our discussions, the Russian government, through its agency, has told us that they can make available their vaccines to us. So, of course, it's subject to our doing our own due diligence on it, but they can start producing for us, because they have to produce it as it's ordered as early as January, if we are ready to accept it. They also have nagpirmahan na po sila ng co-production agreements sa mga ilang bansa, tulad ng Korea, who could, after satisfying their domestic need, also supply. The Russian strategy is a little different from the Western pharmaceutical companies. They are allowing co-production. They have signed agreements or are negotiating agreements in almost every region of the world to be able to supply it to the widest demand possible. They know the demand is very high. So it's really a matter of how early we can do our own due diligence and then sign agreements, do the procurement process. And when that's done, they said there, and of course, we need to be ready with some of the infrastructure para sa storage at the required temperatures. And although there's a version of the vaccine that will not require extreme temperatures, but might be a little more expensive. So there are some details that we're discussing together with our DOH and DOST, and also discussing on the business side and the regulatory side, both in terms of supply and possible co-production in the Philippines. Thank you.
Your Excellency, if you may, let me just ask you this. Has the Russian government complied with WHO standards? Because there was a report earlier na parang hindi yata sumasang-ayon ng Russia doon sa WHO standards.
Thank you very much. Well, from our understanding and our own discussions here, they have complied with the standards. I'm not sure what the evidence is that they have not observed these or have. As far as we know, they are in discussions with WHO, and I'm sure countries like Korea, Brazil, and a few other countries will not sign co-production agreements because this will be for their own citizens, if they feel that, if it's true that Russians have not complied with the WHO.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Secretary.
Siguro dagdagan ko lang yung iba pang report sa ating mga ibang ambassadors na nakausap na natin on the part of Ambassador Romualdez. Sabi niya matagal na pong nagkaroon ng kasunduan si Secretary Pompeo with our Secretary Locsin para mabigyan nga po tayo ng bakuna na gagawin sa Amerika, no? So nakumpleto na po natin yung the dialogue sa ating mga ambassadors sa mga bansa na merong dinidevelop na vaccine. Meron lang pong isa pa siguro that we should contact France, because I understand that France and possibly Israel are also developing vaccines. Pagkatapos po niyan, kakausapin naman natin yung ating ambassador to ASEAN, kasi meron po tayo mga strategies na bibili tayo sabay-sabay bilang isang ASEAN para mas marami at mas mababa ang presyo, and kakausapin din po natin yung mga representante natin sa ADB at saka sa World Bank para pag-usapan naman yung funding, no? Okay, next question please. Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you, Melo. Back to you, Secretary, please.
Yes, Secretary, ang tanong mula kay MJ Blanca Flor ng Daily Tribune, yung tungkol po dun sa resignation ni Congressman Pantaleon Alvarez as Secretary General of PDP laban, kung nakausap na po ba daw si Pangulong Duterte at si Congressman Alvarez?
Ako lang po ang nakausap ni Congressman Alvarez as far as I know.
Opo, yung second question po niya, nasagot na nyo about dun sa naging joke niya sa Camarines Sur, Secretary. Thank you po.
Thank you. Punta tayo kay Joseph Morong, please.
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Hello?
Yes. Good afternoon,
okay.
Joseph.
Sir, okay. First dun sa task force. Sir, bakit parang pang-ilan ang task force na binubuo ng government? Yun munang criticism na yun na parang for every kibot task force.
Hindi naman po siguro dahil itong sunod-sunod na kalamidad naman po, I think makes the task force a necessity already, no? Dahil ang gusto lang talaga ni Presidente mas mabilis na pagbigay ng pangangailangan natin mga kababayan kapag meron pong kalamidad.
Sir, just to belabor the point, so anong magiging itsura ng function nito? Ano yung pinaka-immediate na kailangang gawin, at saka can we delineate yung magiging niyang trabaho versus what NDRRMC is already mandated to do?
Hindi na po kinakailangan dahil kumbaga it's headed by the Executive Secretary. It's the ES position, no? Responsibility to make sure na makarating ang tulong sa lalong mabilis na panahon. And kapag primus inter pares ka kasi, talagang may persuasive effect yun sa lahat ng ahensya ng gobyerno na kinakailangan bilisan ang paggalaw.
Di ba, sir, kailangan i-delineate natin yung difference naman ng NDRMC sa task force? Paano sila different?
Well, kasi po, nag-iisa ang Executive Secretary na mamumuno nitong task force. Samantalang ang NDRMC is a council composed of cabinet members, no? So, ang sinasabi lang ni Presidente, miski walang pagpupulong ng council, pwede na magdesisyon ang Executive Secretary, no? Lalong-lalo na if it means saving lives.
And the most immediate concern now that ES has to focus on is what?
To make sure that the funds are available, no, para ibigay ang lahat ng ating pangangailangan. Isa po yan, no, sa unique feature ng task force kasi ang NDRMMC composed of nga po yan, iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno, no? Pero siyempre, direkta na si ES na magsasabi, ng pondo, DBM, and National Treasurer, please release the funds. Ganun kadali na po yung proseso.
And this is related to what the President has been saying sa Camarines and also sa Cagayan. He just needs one point person for the province. No?
Yes.
Okay. Sir, yun pong sinabi ni Secretary Anyo, yun na po ba yung magiging why did he point out that the situation na kailangan siguro ang mag-trigger ay NDRMC?
I haven't really talked to him, no? Pero kapag NDRMMC, masisiguro talaga natin yung publication ng notice na magpapalabas sila ng tubig. Now, I got a timeline and nagbigay naman po ng notice ang NIA wise na magpapalabas sila ng tubig. Ang problema, wala pong nag-carry except Philippine National PNA. Wala po sa mainstream media na nag-carry. It was just a notice pero hindi ata nabigyan ng utmost publicity, no? Pero nonetheless, alam po ng provincial government, so they anticipated it kasi binigyan naman ng kopya ng notice ang provincial government, no? Pero kung NDRMMC po ito, siguro naman dahil nakabase na yan sa Aguinaldo at merong Defense Press Corps, siguro naman lalabas na yung balita na magpapalabas ng tubig, no? So that's one of the reasons too. Another po is syempre para sigurado na yung proseso ng desisyon, no, that we lead to a decision will consider all aspects, no, including effect on the community, which I'm not saying hindi naman po kinonsidera ng NIA, no, pero siyempre po mas malawak yung pagtingin ng NDRRMC kasi nga po iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno yang bumubuo ng council ng NDRRMC.
Sir, I would like to challenge your assertion na the other media networks did not carry. No, that is not true. That's false. In fact, on November 12, we had a story quoting Pag-asa na may ganun mga warnings. So that is not true. The allegation of the NDRRMC, sir. But,
Well,
anyway, sir,
excuse me, but from the timeline given to me, nagkaroon po sila ng warning ng November 9, which was not carried by mainstream media, no? Yun po yung problema rin, no? Siguro kapag NDRMC na dito sa Aguinaldo, hindi ko naman po pinupulaan ng media. Ang sinasabi ko lang, NIA yun eh. Wala namang press corps na na-attach sa NIA yun. Lalo na siguro, provincial NIA office lang yung nag-release doon. Wala naman talagang mag-carry noon, no? Sila-sila lang yun, no? Pero kapag nasa NDRMC po yan, siguro naman dahil nandyan yung defense corps, magagawa na ng story yan. But you're correct, no? Your story was 12. But the notice was given as early
even
as the
before,
9th.
I just cited one in specific instance. But there's the PCEO, I think, for NDRMC NIA to...
We carried it. We have,
this.
in fact, from our documentation, the only story that came out on the notice na magpapalabas was PNA, which is local, no? So anyway, I'm not faulting the media, no? I'm just saying we need better coordination, and that's why we recognize the media as partners, no, in matters such as avoiding or mitigating casualties, no? Siguro isa sa dahilan nga po na dinigayan sa NDRMC para mas malaki yung dissemination compared to if it were to be done alone by NIA.
Alright, sir. Can I shift to the vaccine, because Indonesia is already planning a mass vaccination at the end of the year, and they're looking at Sinopharm and Sinovac. Once it gets the clearance in China, they can proceed with their own mass vaccination. The US is already also targeting a December mass vaccination. How about us, sir?
Well,
Kailan yung mass vaccination?
2 beses ko na po diniscuss yung ating programa rin pag lumabas na ang vaccine, no? So, in place na po ang ating programa. Handa na rin po tayo magkaroon ng mass vaccination, at kaya nga po inaprubahan na ng IATF yung rollout ng ating vaccines. Detalyado na po yung inapprove natin. Siguro hindi ko pa lang nadidiscuss yung DOH. Siguro po, bukas po, didiscuss ko yung DOH timeline kung paano actually tuturukan yung ating mga kababayan. Yun na lang yung kulang ko. Kasi yung roadmap na discuss na natin at na-discuss na rin ni Secretary Galvez. So bukas po, we will discuss the DOH roadmap.
Sir, just last point, no? Sir, yung schedule ni Presidente sa ASEAN, normally we would get the schedule from Maro. That has been the practice and the tradition. But in the past couple of weeks, even the Maro, I think, is having a little difficulty in accessing and disseminating the schedule of the President. Is there another layer of bureaucracy that we don't know that has emerged?
I'm not aware, but Joseph, I will be candid, and I ask assistance already from OP, no, na hindi po pwede na yung mga schedules ng mga multilateral meetings are considered secret, no, dahil dati talaga linalabas yan ng Maro. So I have brought the matter up to appropriate authorities, and I believe si Yusek Borge, I was also in contact with him already, no. And in fairness, the schedule naman was even if it was given to me in a format that is classified as secret, no, I think the schedule naman was provided to the media, no. But I am one with the media in appealing to whoever wants to restrict information on multilateral schedules na, you know, there's no basis, no, to keep it secret, no. And that is why even if the information that I receive on APEC is again in a form that is secret, you know, I mean, it's published also in the websites of the multilateral agency. So there's no reason why we should keep it secret.
Yeah, baka sisihin na naman kami na we're not.
Naintindihan ko po, kaya nga po pinaglalaban ko itong access, no, and that's really my job naman, no. So nag-aapila lang po ako doon sa mga hindi ko po alam kung bakit ng bagong patakaran. Dati nga po hindi ko na trabaho yan ng Maro, no. So maybe I will convene a meeting po between Yusek Borge as Chief of Protocol and the Maro, no, and to thresh this out, maybe even involving Executive Secretary, kasi nga po I think it's something that the ES should act upon already, dahil mahirap nga rin po para sa akin na nagtatanong kayo and I hesitate to give it to you, no, because it's given to me in a form that legally is secret.
Dami ng trabaho ni ES, kaya nyo na yun, Sir, ni Borre. Sir, last na lang.
Yes, sir.
Yung pong, anong tawag dito, yung sa comment dun sa sexist comments and jokes yesterday, I'm sure there are other ways to lighten the mood. Are you saying that making jokes about women and sex are acceptable?
I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying that's the nature of the president. After seeing disaster for almost 8 hours already. Come on. Diba?
Alright, sir.
Okay, thank you
for your
po. Thank you. Yusek Roque, please.
Yes, Secretary Roque. A question, sorry po. Question from Jam Punsala ng ABS-CBN. Ang tanong niya, will the government revive Project NOAA, which some say could have helped Filipinos better prepare for Rolly and Ulysses?
Hindi ko na po maalala kung ano yung Project NOAA. I'm sorry. I will backtrack, but I really don't remember the details of Project NOAA.
Opo. Ang second question po niya, some typhoon survivors themselves are saying they did not know what was happening in their area before and after Ulysses. Vice President Robredo also said Bicolanos lost one of their info sources with the shutdown of ABS-CBN regional station in their area. How do you plan to address information gap in these areas?
Ay, pagdating po dito, maninindigan po ako, walang information gap. Linggo, Biyernes, kahit anong araw, kahit anong oras, nagpe-press briefing po kami. At importante nga po na gawin namin to kahit anong araw pa yan dahil importante na makarating ang impormasyon sa taong bayan. So I'm sorry but I beg to disagree with the Vice President yet again. Wala pong information gap dahil kami po, Sabado, Linggo, Biyernes, kahit anong araw, kung kinakailangan ng impormasyon, iniimbitahan po namin lahat ng mga miyembro ng gabinete na dapat may kasagutan at magbibigay ng tulong para po magkaroon ng emergency and special press briefings.
Thank you, Secretary.
Yes, Pia Ranada, please.
Hi, sir. Good afternoon.
Good
Sir, just to
afternoon.
press on the point about yung task force, creation of a new task force. Sir, why is it necessary for Malacanang to make a task force pa just so that the palace can lead in disaster efforts when gano'n naman po talaga in general, like the ES doesn't really need a task force, diba, sir, to remind agencies of their jobs. And sir, the president himself has always signed off on the releases of calamity funds. So why the need for a task force just to do these things?
Well, una-una, ang solusyon talaga namin dyan ay yung creation ng Department of Disaster Resilience. Hindi pa po lumalabas. So obviously, hindi po talaga sapat yung council na gumaganap, na gumagalaw. No? Bagamat meron po tayong executive director, ang napakagaling na si Yusek Halad. I guess the task force really is to stress na someone has to be in charge. And the person in charge is executive secretary, no? With the full assistance of the entire cabinet. Yun lang po yun.
Mm-hmm. Sir, you just said right now that you think hindi sapat yung council, but at the same time, sir, in the press briefings of the president, he keeps saying he's satisfied with the way the post-disaster response was handled. Parang he has no criticism for any government official. So, sir, why don't we hear the president taking government officials to task for failing to stop the small-scale mining in Cagayan? I mean, shouldn't heads rule here, lalo na illegal yung mining, and then yun, nangyari siya, and it caused the landslide. It was one of the reasons why nag-cause yung landslide. How come the president isn't taking them to task for it?
Well, kung binigyan po yan ng lisensya, siguro nga po pwede mapulaan. No? Pero lininaw po ni Secretary Simato, wala nga po yung lisensya yan, so illegal yan. So of course, the PNP will have to more or less come up with an explanation on why there was unauthorized mining activities in the area. No? Because that's a matter also of enforcement. So in that sense, there may have been lapses na merong illegal mining activities ongoing which should have been stopped. Pero remember, Pia, we're talking about very remote areas also of the Sierra Madre, no? So siguro yun din po ang kakulangan, no, na hindi natin ma-penetrate yung mga isolated areas of the Sierra Madre. But by and large, the president said that the quick reaction fund, the quick reaction of all the department of agencies were in fact very good. Ang sinasabi lang niya is the task force is not just for quick reaction, it is also for the task of rehabilitation.
Sir, hindi po ba job rin ng DNR to go after illegal mining? I mean, it's their job to issue permits, but it's also their job to run after violators and illegal activities, right? No matter how remote the area is.
They have limited enforcement then, no? So I would accept na we need to better enforce and implement the laws banning illegal mining in even in secluded areas, remote and secluded areas such as the Sierra Madre Range.
Sir, last question. Si DNR Secretary Roy Cimatu admitted during a situation brief that the hazard maps the DNR created for the Cagayan Valley exactly predicted the impact of the landslide. And so parang this kind of counters the perception you were saying that the government did not expect that kind of impact. Kasi sir, sabi na ni DNR Secretary Cimatu na may prediction yung hazard map.
You're talking of
So,
two
sir,
different things, no? Yung anticipated but not expect the volume of water is a statement attributed to Governor Mamba. Now, si Secretary Cimatu, kasi hazard map yun eh. So, yung place where the illegal mining happened, exactly in that area, identified as a hazard area. Kaya siguro hindi nga binigyan niya ng lisensya ng DNR. As to whether or not we should have known that they were operating illegally, well, I will refer that matter to DNR and the PNP.
So sir, who should be held accountable for failure to implement measures based on these hazard maps?
It's a law enforcement. It's a law enforcement matter. Pero ang problema kasi is I am not aware if we have a law which will penalize individuals for actually being in a hazard area. I can tell you as someone from up north now, no, na they are in municipalities in the Cordilleras classified in the hazard maps as precisely hazard areas, and yet there continues to be residents there. So I suppose we need a law that will impose penalties on individuals who will stay in hazard areas. But
sir, I believe it's the LGUs who have the responsibility to follow the hazard maps guidelines. It's on them.
In terms of providing permits, ang problema nga, lahat itong mga nasa hazardous areas are illegal structures. Okay? Okay, thank you, Pia. We go now to Yusek Roque again.
Okay, Secretary, tanong pahabol ni Laila Salaveria na Inquirer, how can people be assured that this latest task force would be able to accomplish its task promptly? And there had been complaints about other task forces, such as one on Marawi, not accomplishing goals on time.
Well, let me put it this way, no? Number one, the EO still has to be signed by the President. Number two, let's give it a chance. Wala pa naman, no? Let's see what kind of a difference this EO will make as far as delivery of quick responses to and rehabilitation efforts in calamity-stricken area.
Okay, from Vance Fernandez, is there any action or response from the government that some governors and mayors planning to file charges against their local dams? Does the government amenable to this?
Let's just say, so be it. Under the existing laws, the LGUs have the standing to sue, particularly for environmental tort. No? I've handled one such claim for the province of Marinduque in the past. No? And personally, if they think that they have a cause of action, they should. No? Pero ang sinasabi ko lang po, as far as the Magat Dam is concerned, that's only one of the reasons po for these flash floods in Cagayan Valley. Number one, it really is a valley. No? So talagang ang tubig po papunta dyan. And a scientific study has already concluded na ang primary reason for these flash floods, deforestation, illegal mining, and the contour of the river itself, plus the fact that it has to be dredged. So if they file suit, baka hindi rin po sila maging successful dahil you have to prove that the dam was the proximate cause. I know I'm engaging already in an academic lecture. No? It is the cause without which the cause of action sued upon could not have occurred. And I don't know how they can prove that. But as far as suing is concerned, that is their right. But I have serious doubts if it will prosper as a lawyer.
From Miguel Aguana ng GMA News Desk, InfraWatch criticized the absence of a single government authority managing multi-dam discharges during heavy rainfall. He said this is nothing but criminal incompetence and failure of leadership by the national government. The impact of Typhoon Ulysses could have been mitigated with forward-planned multi-dam discharges under a single authority?
Uulitin ko po, ang ating problema, climate change. If at all, contributory po ang pagbubukas ng mga dams, pero ano naman pong gagawin natin kung di tayo magpapalabas ng tubig, sasabog po yung mga dams na yan. Pag sumabog, mas maraming maapektuhan. Okay? So sama-sama po tayo, kapit-bisig tayo para ipaglaban po ang tinatawag na climate change justice. No? At kaya naman po, aktibong-aktibo ang ating presidente pagdating sa usaping climate change.
Thank you, Secretary.
Okay. So kung wala na po tayong questions, unang-una, maraming salamat, Ambassador Serreta. Ambassador Serreta and I were literally classmates at the UP College of Law, and we're very proud of him. Thank you very much for your time, Ambassador. And of course, I'd like to thank the men and women of the Malacanang Press Corps. I'd like to thank all of you for your continuing monitoring of our press briefings. Thank you, Yusek Roque. And on behalf of our President, bago po yan, I'd like to recognize two of our LGUs are present today. We have Mayor Grace Casil of Biliran. Welcome, Mayor. And we have Vice Mayor Maha Sales of Pagudpud. No? On behalf po, sa ngalan ng ating Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte, ako po ang inyong spok nagsasabi, kaya po natin to, babangon po tayo muli. Maraming salamat po at magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.
May sadyang